Hey guys, Robb Reviews here, bringing you another cool review for another episode of course, Game of Thrones. This one is Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 8, The Pointy End. This one originally aired on June the 5th, 2011, and was directed by Daniel Minahan. Minahan? Something like that. Anyway, so we'll go by location. We'll talk about obviously what happened in different locations and what I think about it, and then we'll give her my overall thoughts and my rating. So at the wall, we see Jon and Sam return to Castle Black. Obviously, they find two dead bodies in Tau, two corpses identified as members of Benjen Stark's missing ranging party, Jaffa Flowers and Offa. Obviously, though deceased, they appear to have been dead for some time. So Sam obviously notes the bodies do not smell like they have been rotting. Jon and several others urge that Lord Commander obviously burns the bodies, but he refuses wanting Maester Aemon to obviously examine them. Jon just summoned by Mormont's chambers. Obviously, Jon attempts to leave before Mormont reminds him that the oath he has sworn to the Night's Watch. When obviously Jon expresses concern for his sisters, Mormont replies he is sure they are unharmed, though Jon is doubtful. Later on, Alliser Thorne taunts Jon that his father is a traitor, calling him not just a bastard, a traitor's bastard. Obviously, we see that Jon is obviously the whining ghost scratching at the door, sensing trouble. Jon and his direwolf head to the Lord Commander's chambers, while Jon is confronted by a White, the reanimated corpse of the dead Night's Watchman. Though Jon is able to stab the White through the chest with his sword, the White simply removes the sword unharmed. Mormont appears, seeking out the commotion. Jon grabs Mormont's oil lamp and throws it at the White, finally destroying it. The morning after, the two Whites' bodies are burned, and Sam says that obviously that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So that was a pretty intense scene. In the Vale, we see the area. You see Catelyn is furious with Lysa. Obviously, Lysa didn't notify her of Eddard's arrest, and also the fact that she let Tyrion go with the thing of the Vale. We see Tyrion and Bronn reach the western edge of the Vale to get meted by the Hill Tribesmen. Obviously, the warrior Shagga and they want to be killed, but obviously Tyrion offers them money and says that he can actually use them as an army essentially, and says that he can buy them. In the north, we see Robb receives a letter from Sansa in King's Landing asking him to pledge fertility to King Joffrey, obviously to bend the knee to King Joffrey. Maester Lewin says that obviously maybe not. Robb refuses to consider and sends out Raven summoning the Lord's bannermen in the north to get their armies assembled for Winterfell. At Winterfell, Robb holds a feast for several of his new arrived bannermen. Jon Umber obviously helps him, says that he'll be with it. We see Robb talking to the bannermen and stuff, and communicating with them, and obviously Robb says farewell to Bran and Rickon, obviously marching off to kind of lead this army. Bran prays by the heart of the tree, where he's approached by Osha, who tells him that the old guards of the forest are listening to him, and the wildlings also worship the old gods. We see obviously a thing with Hodor. They're interrupted by Hodor is obviously bathing and forgot to put clothes back on. That was pretty funny. Catelyn and Sir Roderick, Robb's army in the neck. That stuff. With Catelyn, and obviously she meets Robb. Later on, Robb and his lords are debating on the route to their march, whether or not to march directly against Tywin's army or against Jaime's army, besieging Riverrun to try and get Jaime. So they cross the Green Fork of the river Trident, and obviously crossing it at the Twins, held by Walder Frey. A Lannister scout is captured, and Robb sends him back to warn Lord Tywin that 20,000 northern soldiers are marching against him. At the Lannister camp, we see Tyrion, Bronn, and Shagga. The rest of the Hill Tribesmen arrive at the Lannister thing. Obviously, Kevin's a bit famous. We see Sir Kevin there, obviously. Tywin accepts the aid of the Hills Tribesmen, but Shagga will only fight if Tyrion fights alongside them. And obviously, Tywin welcomes it, and Tyrion's a bit terrified. Then we see the stuff across the Narrow Sea. Stuff across the Narrow Sea. Essentially, we see This guy questions Khal Drogo, this guy called Mago, and obviously they essentially have a fight. He kills. There's loads of things with Khal Drogo, but basically Khal Drogo has a fight with this guy. Khal Drogo kills him, but he really badly wounds Drogo, and Drogo dismisses it as a scratch, but Daenerys insists it be treated and allows one of the women she rescued, a healer called Mizzy Maz-Dur, to treat the wound, despite the obviously Drogo's the distaste of Drogo's blood riders, who call the woman a witch, essentially, because obviously there was a thing where the Dothraki killed the villagers and raped the women and all that. And then in King's Landing, briefly going over all the stuff, we see, of course, Lannister soldiers are in complete purge to the Starks. They kind of kill all the things, Sandor Clegane mostly. Then we see the guardsmen arriving with Sir Meryn Trant, with obviously Syrio Forel. We see Syrio Forel fight them off and presumably going down with them, obviously fighting, but knocking out all the others, putting up a good fight. Obviously Arya runs to the stables where there's men waiting for her, obviously trying to find her. There's obviously a stable boy there who comes, and obviously Arya has to kill him. Varys visits Eddard Stark in the cell, talking to him that he needs to sort of trade his honour in, and he says that he's not going to trade his honour in. Cersei, reminded the small council, talks about to all the people, obviously, and Sansa to inform that the father has been arrested for treason. They talk to Sansa about it. Obviously, that's when Sansa writes the letter to Robb. They add that Eddard's maybe depend on what his son and the Northern Lords do. Later on, King Joffrey holds the court in the Red Keep. Jon Slint, commander of the City Watch, is made to Lord of Harrenhal. We have that kind of stuff. Cersei dismisses Sir Barristan, and obviously because he's too old, and he obviously is not very pretty, and he has a pretty cool send-off where he's like, "Here, boy." Varys announces that Selmy will be given a castle, and obviously he doesn't really care. He kind of things off, and then we have obviously Sansa begging Joffrey for her father's life, claiming that the medicine he was taking for his injured leg was responsible for his treasonous talk. Joffrey says that her sweet words have moved him, and he will spare Eddard if he bends the knee and acknowledges him as king, and Sansa says he will. So really, really cool episode. Lots of really cool stuff in there. Lots of nice drama and build up to the story. Really good episode. Lots of good stuff. There was a few bits I wasn't too keen on, but overall a pretty great episode. I'd say it was a fair 8 out of 10. Sort of average for Game of Thrones, because a Game of Thrones is usually at least an 8, if not a 10. There's a 9 or a 10 in some cases. But yeah, some really good stuff. But overall, pretty good episode. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, goodbye.